word in meditation. Om is the creative word, the whir of the vibratory motor, the witness of divine presence. Even the beginner in yoga soon inwardly hears the wondrous sound of Om. Through this blissful spiritual encouragement, the devotee becomes convinced that he is in communion with divine realms. So, realize exploring inner space means we know where we're going. Millions of people do not know where they're going. They're taken up with this exploration and that in outward living, making money and all sorts of things. But the devotee of God knows where he is going. He is going back home, to his cosmic home of light from whence he has come. He is going back to God. He knows he's on the way because he hears the cosmic sound of Om. That is what he follows. That's the pole star, because that is God. Patanjali says, Om, or the Vedas say, he who knows Om knows God. Realize these important truths of inner space, and they are easily attainable if you will follow one who had explored inner space and found God as our beloved Master. He has given us the techniques and the wherewithal to do likewise. Now, one point I'd like to bring in just in a brief way, but I think it is necessary, is this idea or this point of restlessness that is within each one of us. Restlessness is the greatest deterrent to the exploration of inner space and the attainment of God. Why? Because breath ties the soul to the body. And if your breath is restless and your inner workings are restless, so to speak, you cannot concentrate and explore inner space. It's a very important point. In the autobiography, I will not read it all to you, but just point out to you that on page 248, there are many illustrations given there as to the mathematical relationship between the vibratory rate within you and full realization of God. The respiratory rate, I should say, and the states of consciousness within us. Very important. When there's anger and lust and such things within us, what happens to the vibratory rate of your respiration? It soars. And remember, breath ties the soul to the body. How can you explore inner space and find God with restlessness of breath within? It's a very important point to understand that. Now, when you are concentrating on something, some problem, with deep concentration, or performing some physical task which requires full attention and delicacy in handling it, what happens to your respiration? It slows way down. Slows way down. And so when you are concentrating on God fully and performing the greatest thing that you can in delicacy, so to speak, your breath will slow way down. Because breath ties you to the body, and you cannot get out of this body while the breath is operating. It's a very important point. That's why the techniques of self-realization, especially those which control the life force and control the respiratory rate, are very important. The highest technique of concentration. You see, there's a science between it which I would like to give to you. And so, this respiratory rate is very important. You know the monkey, he's always jittering around, jumping around. His respiratory rate is 32, I believe. Ours is 18. Why? Because he's jittery. He's always doing monkey shines and so forth. I suppose that's why it's called that. And yet, on the other hand, the elephant and the tortoise and such animals, they breathe with a very slow respiratory rate. The human is 18, as you know. And so, for instance, the elephant, the tortoise, and the snake, they live a long time, but their respiration is very slow. For instance, the respiration of the tortoise. He lives to the age of 300 years. I don't know as I'd like to live that long, but he does. And his respiration is 4 times a minute. And so breath ties us to the body. Realize that. And so when you perform the techniques of Kriya Yoga and the other pranayamas, you'll find your respiration slows right down. Why? Because you are exploring inner space, and you cannot reach the pinnacle of inner space, the holy mountain of God, until you have released the attachment of the soul to the body. It's very important, very scientific. And as your breath slows down, know that you are traveling the right road in inner space, and you are nearing the presence of God, which you long for so much. And so, in the autobiography, untying the cord of breath, which binds the soul to the body, Kriya Yoga serves to prolong life and enlarge the consciousness to infinity. If you travel inner space, one point